Greetings out there in YouTube land. This is Morris, man. As always, I thank you guys for coming to my channel. I thought I would post this video because I thought it would be pretty helpful for you guys that are embarking on a journey to learn an instrument. And I guess this is not just for beginners, it's for intermediate players. You know, one of my favorite sayings is you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know, go find somebody that can teach you or tell you. And one of my subscribers, and I'll say his name, Jayden, he had a pretty good question. And I already responded, but I said, you know what, I'm going to do a video on this because I think this will be very helpful. Because again, you don't know what you don't know. And knowledge is king. You know, when someone tells you and shows you, that lasts a lifetime, you know, and you build on that. So his question it was kind of like 2 or 3 questions. First one was, you know, he responded to one of the videos I did, the guitar cover. He said, how do you learn those chords by ear? Then the second question is I guess it's one question, without looking at a chord chart, is that possible? And the answer to that question is absolutely. I do it all the time. And the question, you know, one might ask is, well, how do you do it? It's pretty simple. Go get formal lessons. And here is why. When you go get formal lessons, your instructor right out the gate will start teaching you stuff that you should know how to learn, or teaching you stuff that can't get it out. Teaching you stuff that you need to learn without them giving you stuff that's not accurate and they making up stuff. Because, you know, you can hear when a musician is self-taught for the most part. Because I remember playing in countless amount of bands, and there was 2 guitar players, me and the other guy, and I'm listening to the other guy playing chords. I'm like, this is what I used to do when I didn't know how to read and didn't know how to formulate correct chords. You create stuff that sounds good. And it's like, it don't sound bad, but it's not actually a chord. It's kind of a fragmented, made up thing. And to avoid that is to go get a formal teacher, and he teach you right out the gate these chords without, again, fragmented stuff, made up stuff to sound good. These are the actual chords that are within the musical system or theory. You know, so that's how you learn. And that's how I learned. I went and finally went and found a music instructor that taught me what I needed to know personally. Because for the most part, when you go and search for one, unless you get extremely lucky, the very first guy that you meet that can play and can teach you well, he's not a fit for you, you know, for some reason or another. I went through like maybe 5 or 6 guys until I found that guy. And when I found that guy, I kid you not, I only had one 45-minute lesson with him. And he just kicked the barn door open for me. He said, here, study this. It should make sense to you, and you're on your way. And I studied that, and I was on my way. Within a week of him showing me what he showed me, I went to Lion Healy music store that was in Chicago back in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, I believe. Within 1 week, I was able to play chord charts. 1 week. It didn't take me 6 months, 6 years, you know, because I had some type of training from other guys, but it just wasn't sticking, and what they were teaching me just wasn't making any sense to me personally. Not to say that they were not good teachers, just that what I was looking for, they was not supplying. And he laid it out for me real simple. And when I started to learn these chords that he showed me, because after a while, this is how you build your ear. You're given the right stuff right out the gate. You go get a former music teacher, you start to show you chords. You know, real simple, G major 7, right on the A string. And then, you know, C major 7, right on the E string. And he taught me a lot of these chords, and after a while, you start to be able to hear these chords without even having your guitar in your hand. Because the first chord that was extremely dominant when I started to play music, I would hear this chord. I'm like, I already know what that chord is without picking up my guitar because I've heard it so many times. And it varies from person to person. You know, for you guys, it might be maybe the major 7. You know, just like I just said, C major 7, right on E. And then you play it right on the E string, which is G. You know, after a while, when you keep hearing these chords, and you know what these chords are because he's teaching you, you start to hear it. It's like, okay, because the chord that stood out for me, it still stands out for me. Actually, it's two of them. It's the major 7. You know, when I hear that in the record, I know what it is before I even pick up my guitar. But mine's, the first one that really stood out was the suspended 4th chord. And usually it dissolves into the major. So it's like G sus4 and then G major. Usually when you hear this chord is following behind it. In some cases, or most, because I've heard actually a Bee Gees song where it was kind of clever how they did it. They just gave you the suspended chord and left you hanging. And I'm like, where's the major? They didn't give you the major. You know, but that's how you develop your ear. You go get a music teacher and he teach you these chords. Because what happens is when you don't go get a music teacher and you fumbling around and you striking stuff and you don't know what it is. So if you don't know what it is, how can you identify it when you hear it on the record? You know, because you're not even sure what it is. You know, it's like, well, what is that? You know, but when you go get a music teacher, he teach you major, minor, suspended 4s, minor 7s, major 7s. You start to eventually hear that stuff. Now, this is how I personally tap songs. And I think I'm a little bit unique, and I didn't realize that I was a little bit unique. I play several instruments. My first instrument actually was saxophone. I still play a little bit, but I just ain't got the lungs for that. And even when I was in my 20s, I'm like, getting a headache and them veins in your neck and I'm like, oh, I can't do this. This wasn't cut out for me. So then I started to take formal bass lessons. And I said to myself, I like the bass, but it's one note at a time. I want to play chords. You know, when I play chords, I can fill up the sound, and then I'm able to become probably a pretty decent songwriter, which I had become a pretty decent songwriter. And not to say that you can't be a bass player, but when you play like piano, guitar, you already got the chords. And you can already figure out the bass line for these chords that you put together without even playing bass. You can play, if you're a piano player, play the bass line in your left hand, or if you're right hand, on your right hand. You know, so that's why I switched to the guitar. So when I started to pick up guitar, I already knew how to play bass. So what I started to realize was, and I say this in my DVD lessons 1 through 7, the bass player is the guitar player's best friend, because how I tabulate songs, I listen to the bass line. I don't even try to listen to the chords. I listen to the bass line, and then what I do in most cases, and usually this works unless you're doing some jazz or some extreme rare chord voicings. Once you determine what note the bass player playing at that given time, let's say a G note, you just audition chords. Okay, let's try G major. Okay, no, that don't work. Let's try G minor. No, that don't work. Let's try G minor 7. Nope. Let's try suspended. Nope. Let's try major 7. Okay. Usually those 5 right there will help you find those chords. But I'm going to sign off now because I think my camera's going to cut off. But I thought I would post this video because, again, I think that that was a good question. And that's how I personally learned how to listen to stuff by ear and then write out a chord chart for it. You know, now this is not going to happen overnight. This takes years and years. You know, after hearing these chords years after year after year after year, you start to be able to say, okay, I know what this is because I've heard it hundreds of times, thousands of times. So therefore I can do it. But again, how I tap songs is I listen to the bass line. You know, since I'm a bass player too, I'm like, okay, this is what the bass player is doing. So jumping on guitar, I'm going to follow those notes and then audition these chords. And usually those 5 or 6, 7 chords I mentioned is usually going to be one of those. Again, unless you're doing some jazz stuff or some gospel stuff, you know, then it might be something else because, you know, they use an expanded chord voicing or chord name vocabulary, or actually a different set, because jazz has its own little chord world. Gospel, for the most part, has its own little chord world. You know, the new style of music or genre is neo-soul. All neo-soul is a combination of jazz stuff mixed in with R&B stuff, and that's what you get. Because a lot of those neo-soul songs, they're using a lot of jazz chords and phrasings. A lot of jazz chords and phrasings, you know, with an R&B feel. You know, so I'm going to sign off now, but that was a pretty good question. And that's how, again, I do it. Go get lessons. If you're going to try to embark on becoming a guitar player, don't sit on YouTube and just watch Morris, man, or another group of other guys, fingers who've been playing for years professionally, also taking formal lessons, and you think you're going to play like us. You're not. You're not. Go pay somebody. Not stress that. Go pay somebody. Being a grown man, never expect another grown man to do something. Or being a grown man, never ask another grown man for something you're not willing to pay for. You get what you pay for. When you don't pay for nothing, do it. It shows and it looks like it and it sounds like it. I've heard people say this, and I hope my camera don't cut off before I say this. Giving excuses, oh, they too expensive. Well, maybe you better find another hobby. If you don't think you can do this, go find something else. Just because you can't afford it, no one's going to come to your rescue and say, I'm going to do this for you for free. I'm going to donate 2 hours a day out of my time to help you for free. Now, it's different when it's a medical emergency or something that you really need. But it's like, you'll find a way to. If you don't, you just don't. But sometimes I hate to put it in those kind of words because people think, oh, Morris, man, sucked it. I'm just telling you the truth. Don't walk around being a grown-ass man with your hand out begging, could you do this with me? Could you take me here? Could you do this? Come on, man. I know sometimes we fall down on our luck, and that's totally different. Somebody trying to come to your aid and help build you back to where you were. But when you've spent your entire life begging, expecting people to do stuff for you, got a sense of false entitlement, some nonsense. It's like, it's some nonsense. Because I run across people on my channel all day long. Could you do this for me? Give me a list of stuff. I'm like, so I'm going to give you 8 hours of my day for free. I don't have 8 hours of my day to give you for free. Some cases I don't have even 8 hours to give you if you even going to pay me. Because I got so much stuff going on. But, I thought I would include that little statement because here's something interesting. I'm going to sign off. I did some song a couple of days ago. What was that? The Bee Gees song. And I had a subscriber say to me, it's sad that, it's only one of them left now. So yeah, it is. It's sad to see the legends go. And what's even more sad is they're not being replaced with future legends. And you ask yourself, why is that? Because half the people now can't play. Because they taking shortcuts, they playing with hands, they sampling other people's stuff. They got other people that are creative that they are, now it's called royalty-free music. You take a little portion out of this and put it in your song. Now you call it your song. When all you did was just borrow from another dude that can play and now stamp this as yours. And it's like, that's why I don't see any future legends. I can think of maybe one or two people like, okay, they kind of keep it in the tradition of they're talented. They're not borrowing, they're not stealing, they're not half doing it, So that's what I see. And I hope that I'm wrong, and I hope that somebody changes what's going on, and we kind of go back to the old school. Learn your instrument. That's it. That's all you got to do. That's it. Learn your instrument, put some time in, become good, become creative. But now, like I said, MIDI packs. I'm going to another dude, taking his chord progressions, putting it in my mix. I'll call it my song. And I can go on with this, but I'm going to end it there. But, again, that's the answer to that question. Go get formal lessons. A well-qualified instructor will teach you everything you need to know, and you go from there. You just take off from there. Instead of, again, sitting on YouTube. Morris, man, move the camera. I can't see your fingers. Oh, what's those notes in the chord? It's like, if you go get lessons, all that stuff. My channel, for the most part, and videos are designed to just give chords to musicians that can already play. They just didn't know the chords. There was no sheet music available. There never no sheet music created. That's the purpose of these videos. It's not to sit here and teach you finger placements and try to teach you your guitar while I'm teaching you or giving you the chords. And I have to, I guess, say that because there's some people that didn't get it. They think that this is a beginner's channel and I'm just going to tell them move fingers here, move finger there, even though you don't know why the fingers are there. Morris man told you to put the fingers there, That's a shitty way of trying to learn. And your plan is going to reflect that. So I'm going to, again, leave you with this. Go get formal lessons. Go get formal lessons. Till next time, take care and thanks for watching.